The voice in your head is automatic and it's currently running your life. You know the moment when you're walking down the street and you replay something that you said like 3 hours ago. There was a look, maybe a sentence, tiny bit of awkwardness in a meeting, and now your whole body is in court. Why did you say that? That sounded weird. They noticed. You always do this. And you're not even in the conversation anymore. Like you're in a replay room with the same clip, different angles, same verdict. Or you open Instagram to post something and suddenly you become a hostage negotiator with yourself. Maybe not this photo, maybe not that line. Maybe wait until you've thought about it some more. Maybe fix your face. Maybe fix your life first. Or you're lying in bed trying to sleep and your brain decides tonight would be a beautiful time to remind you of every unfinished thing in your life, your career, your body, the message that you haven't replied to, the project sitting in drafts, the gym membership, the promise that you made to yourself on Sunday quietly buried by Tuesday. And what's strange is that this doesn't feel like self-harm. It feels like management. It feels like someone in you is trying to keep the standards up, trying to stop you embarrassing yourself, trying to make sure your life doesn't slide into mediocrity while you become one of those people who could have done something and instead became very thoughtful about it. That's why it's hard to see. Like this voice does not arrive dressed as a villain, it arrives dressed as responsibility. And that's exactly why it gets so much control. I think most people are not struggling with random negative thoughts. They're living under private authority structure. Like a thought appears, it carries a threat, your body reacts and behavior follows. Like that loop is so fast that it feels like personality, but it isn't. It's a control system. Cognitive behavioral research has shown for decades that thoughts and emotions and behavior are tightly linked. And procrastination research keeps finding the same thing, like delay is strongly tied to emotional regulation and the avoidance of distress. It's not just simple laziness. So when you say, I'm just bad at following through, what may actually be happening is much more precise. Like you're following through perfectly. You're following the wrong instructions. Let's talk about what an automatic thought actually is. Like, let's define properly. An automatic thought is a sentence that appears in your mind without permission. It's fast, like plausible and emotionally loaded. It does not ask to be believed. It behaves if belief is already assumed. Like, this isn't good enough. You're behind. They're judging you. If you do this badly, it says something about you. And a self-defeating belief is the rule sitting underneath that thought. Like, if I'm not impressive, I'm exposed. If I make mistakes, then I lose worth. If people see the ordinary version of me, like I lose love or status or safety or my future. And a control loop is what happens next, like the thought, the feeling, then the action. Like in more often, your case and mine, the thought, the feeling, inhibition. You don't send, you don't post, you don't ask, you don't begin, you don't finish. And then you call that not being ready. And the part people miss here is that the voice contains good values. And this is where most advice, I think, becomes childish. Like the voice isn't stupid. It's built on positive values, often beautiful ones: care, standards, conscience, belonging, love, contribution, and not wasting people's time. Like not wanting to become arrogant, not wanting to hurt people, not wanting to become one of those loud idiots with the confidence and no substance. And that matters, right? Because if the voice was just an abusive set of nonsense, you would probably drop it in a week. You keep it because it's carrying something precious. That brutal thought before you hit publish may carry a value for excellence. That obsessive replay after social interaction may be carrying a value of connection. That collapse into overthinking before a big move may be carrying a value of safety or prudence or responsibility. And this is what David Burns gets exactly right with positive reframing. Symptoms persist because they are doing something for you. They protect, they restrain, they prevent catastrophe, they keep you from becoming the sort of person that you fear. That's why this stuff has to be handled with respect. You're not dealing with stupidity. You're dealing with intelligence expressed in a way that has just probably gone too far. How does this go too far? Like, I think it's almost like the mind takes a good value and adds a cruel rule. Like, care becomes never say the wrong thing. Standards become like never produce anything average. Conscience becomes like you should always know better. The humility becomes don't ever let yourself feel proud. Ambition becomes rest is weakness. Belonging becomes never risk disapproval. That's the turn, I think. A good value, bad operating system. And because the value is real, the cruelty gets smuggled in. Like you don't say, I'm attacking myself. You say, I'm trying to improve. And this is how people become prisoners while calling themselves disciplined. Everyday examples so you can catch yourself. Like, let's make this concrete and real. You're walking towards a group of people at work and your energy changes before you even reach them. You become managed, less spontaneous, less funny, less alive. Not relaxed because something in you has already started scanning, hasn't it? It's like, how should I stand? Say less. Don't be too much. Don't do anything stupid. That's not just social anxiety. It's a self-defeating belief operating in real time. Like the belief maybe if they see the unfiltered version of me that I lose status, or you're at home and a Saturday and you can't rest properly and the weather is good, the house is quiet, you could read, walk, shoot a photograph, or do nothing. But you can't quietly enjoy it because there's an internal supervisor pacing around with a clipboard. Shouldn't you be doing more? Shouldn't you be further along by now? Shouldn't you sort your life out before you relax like a man who's earned sunlight? Again, this isn't random. The belief maybe my worth has to be earned through output, or the obsessive thought version. You keep thinking about whether someone is annoyed with you. You go over the wording, the tone, the pauses. Emojis like you're decoding, an intercepted military message. What's being protected here, like usually connection or belonging or not being blindsided by rejection. That makes sense because social rejections really hits humans hard. Social threat or exclusion and devaluation are powerful stresses for human beings. They're not trivial modern inconveniences. They predict real emotional and health costs because belonging has always mattered throughout history. So when your mind starts scanning, it's not being melodramatic from scratch. It's using old software on modern problems. One of the fastest ways to understand a system is to look at the extreme form. Like take someone who cannot send an email without reading it 15 times. That sounds absurd, but reveals the machine. This thought is not about email. The thought is, if I send something flawed, I'll be judged. If I'm judged, something bad happens. If something bad happens, it confirms something about me. Or someone who cannot relax on a holiday because they feel guilty like the entire time. It sounds ridiculous until you see the operating rule underneath. Like, if I'm not producing, I'm slipping. If I'm slipping, I'm failing. If I'm failing, I'm not safe. And the extreme examples are useful because they stop you pretending your version is different. Same mechanism, different costume. Like the person compulsively checking, the person silently pleasing, the person always preparing, the person never shipping, the person obsessed with being a good person while privately living under a dictatorship. Like it's the same engine. And where psychology and self-help went off the rails, I think, is where the part I wish someone had said to me earlier. Like a lot of modern psychology language became too soft, too abstract, and too respectful of the symptom. It started sounding like the purpose was to name your weather rather than change your behavior. And a lot of self-help went the other way and became a testosterone commercial. Like just do it, push through, dominate your mind, and wake up at 4, suffer more. And both approaches miss the mechanism. Like you don't need a more poetic description of your pain. And I don't think you need to be shouted at by a man with a jawline and a cold plunge. You just need to know what is the thought and what's the belief underneath it. And you know then what value is it protecting? What does it cost you? How do you test it? And I think this is the adult version of psychology. Like why you hold on to the belief. This is where people get judgmental and it ruins the whole thing. Like you hold on to these beliefs because they are helping, not in the long run, but in the moment. They reduce uncertainty, they stop risk, they preserve identity, they give you a reason for hesitation that sounds noble. You keep the belief because if you drop it, new problems appear. If you stop telling yourself, like, be careful what people think, you may have to tolerate disapproval. If you stop telling yourself, like, you must always be productive, then you may have to decide what life is for beyond performance. And those aren't small things. So the belief stays because it gives you structure. It keeps the system intact, tells you who you are. And often, even when it hurts, it feels safer than freedom. That's why arguing with yourself, like, it rarely works. The belief has a job. You have to understand the job before you can update the rule. The uncomfortable contradiction here is that this part is almost funny when you really see it. Like, you want to be more creative, but you have a rule that says don't show anything until it's good. You want confidence, but you refuse to do beginner looking things. You want connection, but you edit your personality before other people can even meet it. You want peace, but you run your inner world like a compliance department. You want to feel worthy, but you just keep moving the conditions. There is humor to that because the system is so obviously self-defeating. It's like hiring a bodyguard who tackles you every time you approach the door. Like very loyal, but completely counterproductive. What does the evidence say about self-criticism? When we look here, the evidence is not flattering around the inner drill sergeant. Reviews describe it as central to the development and maintenance of psychological symptoms. And newer studies keep linking higher self-criticism with more burnout risk and far worse outcomes. I think that matters because many people still believe that harshness is what makes them function. And like sometimes it does make you function the same way that fear can make a person run. That doesn't mean it's a long-term operating system. Pressure can produce compliance, but it also narrows behavior. It increases avoidance and teaches you that action requires internal violence. That's a horrible deal. Here's the therapy bit that no one really says clearly. Therapy can be incredibly useful, so I'm not taking a cheap shot at it. The therapeutic relationship matters a lot. The alliance between client and therapist is one of the most best supported predictors of an outcome in psychotherapy. So no issue there. But I think here's the uncomfortable thing. Like, if the goal is not explicit skill transfer and independence, then you can end up with insight, I think, without freedom. You can understand yourself beautifully and still go home and obey the same voice. That's my inference from evidence and from watching people how they can have a long, sincere, caring relationship while still not being operationally different. So your standard should be simple. Like, is this helping me need the system less over time? If not, I think something's off because real progress it should make you more able to catch or name and test and answer your own thought in the wild, at the desk, in the street, in bed, in meetings, on the phone, in the moment. So the hack is to catch the thought, like extract the value and break its authority. Here is the practical move. Like, it's not a slogan, like a process. Step 1, catch the exact thought, not the polite summary, the sentence. This isn't good enough. They think I'm weird. If I rest, I'm falling behind. If I send this and it lands badly, I look stupid. Like, write it down. This is really important. Step 2, identify the feeling. Anxiety, shame, pressure, dread. This matters because it shows the thought is already doing its work in the body. Step 3, extract the value. Like, ask, what is this trying to protect? Is it reputation, belonging, excellence, maybe safety, integrity, not hurting people? Now the symptom stops looking stupid. Step 4, find the self-defeating belief. Like, what is the rule that's underneath it? If I'm perfect, I'm exposed. If I'm ordinary, I'm unsafe. If people are disappointed, I lose worth. Step 5, expose the cost. Like, what does the belief cost you day to day? In silence, delay, exhaustion, never finishing, never playing, never resting, never being met as you actually are. Step 6, break the authority. That might be true, but that's not why I'm stuck. And then take it home. I'm stuck because I'm listening to this. Like, that line really matters. It changes the source of control. The thought stops being in command. It becomes more of an input. That's the shift. Like, what a healthier inner voice actually sounds like. Not fake positive. You've got this. Not a wellness app like Speaking in Moonlight. Like, it sounds more like this. This really matters to me. I can see that. I'm predicting danger again. I may do this badly, and that will not mean what my mind says it means at this point. I can tolerate this feeling. I can act before certainty. And I don't need to abuse myself into motion. Like, that last one took me a while, because for so long I thought pressure was maturity. I thought the harsh tone was like the adult in the room, and I thought if I dropped it, I'd drift into some sort of laziness and self-deception and become one more bloke with lots of potential and no output. Some of that fear made sense, like it was carrying values that I respected, but the method was rotten. And once you see that method, you can't pretend that suffering is noble anymore. There's a baseline here, and you don't have to be outstanding to be allowed to live. It sounds obvious until you actually watch how many rules inside you deny that. You don't have to earn your right to rest. You don't have to be flawless to participate. And you don't have to solve your whole life before sending an email, posting a thought, going for a walk, taking a photo, making a start, having a laugh, or existing as just an ordinary human being on a Tuesday. Ordinary is not disqualifying, is where every real life begins. The voice in your head is intelligent. That's why you trusted it. And it's trying to protect good things. That's why you keep it. But it's also using those things to control your behavior. And that's why you feel stuck. Once you see the thought, the value, the belief, and the cost, then the system can change. And it isn't because you became more confident, but because the voice stopped being the boss. Of course, nothing about that guarantees a better outcome. It just removes the excuse for staying stuck. That's it from me today. See you in the next one. Chris out.